What did we learn at Rural Talks Broadband and Infrastructure? Broadband access is key to grow and thrive equitably.
So the pandemic, as we know, and the corresponding years of disconnect, we're still a little bit disconnected here today, really underscored the long-standing disparities that still exist in rural America, particularly around broadband investment and digital skilling. It's still there, and we saw it with children having to stay home and do their schooling, with people having to stay home and do their work. Rural communities suffered disproportionately with the lack of broadband.
By our data points, I believe we report at least 120 million people in America aren't using broadband at broadband speeds. And so our goal is to really close that digital divide, focusing both an urban and a rural strategy, but realizing that we can gain wonderful lessons in how to provide support for families to really not just get them access to broadband, but to connect them through digital skills, making sure jobs stay local and the skills are there in communities so that people don't have to leave for work.
We believe that the elimination of the digital divide is the only way to provide opportunities for generational wealth. You don't have access to, the internet or to the ability to connect. It really impedes your ability to grow.
I'm excited to let you know that soon, Wells Fargo and Rural LISC will work together to bring more access and information and capital through an exciting pilot focused on improving the financial prospects of small communities. Everything is harder in rural America, and that includes access to reliable or any internet service and digital financial tools.
A week does not go by when we aren't having active conversations about racial equity, and that we aren't trying to figure out ways to drive our investment to underserved communities.
We've come so far. Like the ACP benefit is huge. I mean, there was a woman who, it changed her whole budget. And I know $30 doesn't sound like a lot sometimes to people, but when it's like, well, you've got all these bills and you're barely making it, and now with that, paying $30 less, I can pay my full electric bill and I can have internet. I mean, it makes a really big deal for a lot of the families that we serve and the populations that we serve.
Now we have an unprecedented opportunity to invest in rural infrastructure, both human and digital.
The President of the United States has put this at the forefront of his agenda and said that every American will have access to affordable, reliable, high-speed internet. What is amazing, particularly as we sit here in Washington, D.C., is that a bipartisan group of legislators has literally bought into that vision by funding the necessary pieces that go behind it. And the one thing that I heard over and over again in those areas was, I feel like I have to choose between living in the place that I love and having the job that I want. So we have this moment to change the course of families, of people, of Americans, and also of entire communities. And this is going to be particularly true in rural America, where we know that a lot of this funding is going to end up.
The success of rural America is a personal priority for President Biden. It's part of why he pushed for the bipartisan infrastructure law. This law is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to expand affordable, high-speed internet to every home and business across rural America, to build new roads and bridges that are safe to use for our families, to deliver economic opportunity to all Americans. The President believes that when rural America succeeds, we all succeed. Building a better America means that no community can be left behind. It means that every American has the opportunity to build a good life without needing to leave the community that they call home.
So this is just a real incredible moment in time where we're really doubling down on our commitment across the country to so many of these communities, especially in rural America. So thank you to everyone that has been part of making that feasible and bringing those resources to bear.
We have the opportunity to be the architects of the future. And there's nothing greater than to be at the forefront of what's happening right now. So I know that today we're going to be talking about broadband. And there's nothing right now in my mind to spur economic development than to make sure that every community has access to broadband.
It will take all of us working together to meet the challenge of this moment.
Because this is a one-time in a generation opportunity. And if there's a flaw in the formulas, you all need to not only know, but this is what a democracy is all about, for you to raise those concerns and advocate. And please connect with us, eda.gov, all these different regional offices. In turn, we have people on the ground who work as economic regional specialists. So these are the individuals that you should be connecting with at any time. But if you don't connect with them, please connect with me.
This only works in partnership with rural community leaders like you. We are so grateful to Rural LISC partners gathered here today who are making significant investments in rural communities across the country. We look forward to our continued work together to build a better America.
At Microsoft, we launched a 5-year commitment in 2017, realizing that at the end of the day, broadband is a critical solution for connecting communities, not just for economic opportunity, but just embedding how we can advance our own daily quality of life. That we need to think strategically about what's the role that our resources could provide in being a catalytic kind of funding mechanism, and then making sure that we're complementing each other rather than cannibalizing investments that are available. Right now, it's leaning into this moment, making sure that we're preparing nonprofits to provide support to the community as more families are adopting broadband, but also being strategic about our collaborations and alliances to expand and maximize the amount of resources available to support greater connectivity in communities across the country, particularly in rural America.
And so we know that as ourselves, we want to be a disruptor in this force, driving that kind of transformational equity in this industry. So corporations and private family foundations are all looking at this, as well as the federal government, on how do we tackle this particular challenge. And I think that nonprofit community-based organizations, or even CDFIs who are moving in this space to really help, navigate in this space to eliminate the inequity are what we need to do. So the collaboration, and so they're going to be, the federal government can provide funding for this. I think they provided, $62 billion or whatever it is. That's only going to get to about 30% of people who don't have broadband. We're going to need other partnerships and collaborations to really address and move this needle on how do we get access across this country, particularly in rural markets.
And I really do connect to accessibility as an equity play here. If we do not have accessibility to the internet, to all types of digital solutions, then we are not, supporting the most needy among us.
It's going to take the people in this room, people who are back home, all across the country, because as I know from Chattanooga, we don't install broadband here in Washington, D.C. We do it in communities all around the country.
Join us for Rural Talks Housing, July 13th through 15th in Washington, D.C., or free virtually online. Register at lisc.org/Rural Seminar 2022.